What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we're working on the truck. We've got a couple things that we're going to figure out and fix today, and we're going to do it all in one fell swoop because we're going to be in the same area. That area is going to be the front suspension. This thing, since it's been here, it's on jack stands now, but has always been slightly higher in the front than in the rear, and that is because, let me see if I can capture that. And that's because of this. That's the coil spring that I'm moving around. And yeah, it's on jack stands, but I should not be able to do that. What they did was they cut the coil springs. I think I've covered this before. I want to say it was probably 2 full coils off. We'll find out when I get them compared to the stock coils. You can do that, but that's not the right way, obviously. Things are happening when we're going over bumps. We're bottoming out on the control arm, we're bottoming out on the shock. The coil springs moving around and being all wonky. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some new parts in there. Easiest way to drop without changing any of the geometry is a drop spindle. I've got me some eBay drop spindles here. And all that does is it moves this little guy from where it would normally be here, moves it up. So on a stock spindle, the little deal that your rotor and everything mounts to is just in a lower location. So this lifts that up, which lowers the vehicle, and it doesn't change any of the geometry because your control arm mounting points are the same. So that's 2.5 inches. I'm sure with the cut springs, they're probably at maybe 3 or 3.5. So 2.5 inches, and then we've got some stock coils here that I've cut 1 coil off of. So that should give me another 2 inches. So another 4.5 inches in the front, but the truck will only see the 2-inch less coil for the geometry. So we're gonna get those off and get this stuff installed and see what happens. Another thing that we're gonna replace while we're in here is these lug studs. I don't know how they got like that or what made them do that. Maybe someone's hitting them with a hammer or something, but it is super complicated to try to get a lug nut on there. It just doesn't wanna work. So we're gonna press some of those out, put some new ones in while we're in here. Somebody already got to these 3. There's 2 on this side, and I think there's 3 on the other side. But being able to put a lug nut on is probably pretty important. I don't know. Got this one broke free. I'm gonna jack this up a little bit, and you can see how both these nuts are loose. So now we can loosen these up. Our castle nuts off. You're gonna watch that when we release this slowly. Watch the tension on it. This one probably won't have a lot because it's a short spring. See how it's already coming loose?
Yeah, about it.
When we put the other one in, it'll be a lot harder to compress it. But we can now remove our spindle. And if you come over on this side, you can see what I'm doing. I'm just pushing down on this lower control arm. The amount of force, don't push into your hand right here, right? And smash it. The amount of force you put down on here should be just enough to get this coil spring out. Oh my God, that's a little guy, a little bitty guy. So this is the coil I pulled out. This is a stock coil with 1 spring cut. If I line these up, he's got an extra coil cut off of that. So he cut 2 coils, or whoever did. I was young once, I get it. This is where it gets harder to put in. You just got to make sure when you're doing this, you don't get your fingers caught anywhere, because that does hurt. All right, so there's two things we're looking at for coil springs. Actually, three. One is the tension. It's got a lot of tension to it. But you remember that little, where's that? This little guy has a little curly Q in there. There's this shape stamped facing down from the bottom of that cross member. You got to make sure that that seats right. At the same time, that indentation in the bottom of the control arm right there,
Yes, yeah.
that pigtail has to sit right there in that indentation, and has to be located in here. Like right now I'm not in there, I'm off to the side, so I've got to get that located in there without smashing my finger. So that's on it, but it still moves a little bit like this, so I got to be mindful of that when I'm putting this back together. Let's set that little guy on here, and I'll put my jack under there. Now you see how the ball joint has this little Zerk fitting on there, this little grease fitting? Little thing sticking up?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's one of those on the bottom too. So if I put my jack on and I get it on here, and you put all the weight on that little grease fitting, it'll break it, right? So I don't want to put my jack, if this is the ball joint on the bottom, I don't want to put it here. I'm going to grab the control arm next to it. That way I'm grabbing on some thick metal.
Yeah.
And not the piece that I don't want to break. Now as I'm bringing this up, I'm watching that coil spring because it's compressing now, right? So I want to make sure that it's going in the right spot. I've already got my control arm. Anyway, I already have my spindle on the bottom ball joint.
Yeah.
So I should be able to just hold this,
Push it up.
and slowly jack this up. Now there's a lot of stuff happening here, a lot of parts that are not hooked up, right?
Yeah.
I probably should have disconnected the other side of that sway bar. But now, see, you heard that jack kick? So it's lifting up the truck.
Past the jack.
But that's good because it's going to use the weight of the truck. See how it keeps compressing that?
Yeah.
It's going to use the weight of the truck to compress it a little bits. Don't want to go too crazy high. Should be able to now
Push it down onto there.
push that, work that in there. So now that I've worked that down in there, I can run my nut up. One thing to note, it's very interesting, that ball joint does not have a hole in it.
What?
So these don't have a cotter pin hole. I've never seen that before. This has been my truck, I probably just tighten it down and send it, but since it's a newer driver, can't do that. So we're going to have to replace these. Not something I wanted to do today, but this is where we're at. So I got a couple things going on. I got to push this thing down through the control arm. I also have to have something to hold on to the lower control arm while it's pushing, but still be able to accept the ball joint into that area because we're pushing it down through there. So as I tighten this up, it's going to pull down on this upper portion here, and it's going to push it down into this cup, catching the ball joint. So I pressed the old one out, forgot to record, sorry. Basically you're just pushing this out the bottom. To get the new one in, we're going to push it in from the bottom. I'm going to have this guy so that it can slide through there. The hole on the top of this will allow the ball joint thread of the ball joint to come through that way. And what we're looking for here is the bottom. See that knurl right there? And there's a lip. This is the bottom lip of that. We're going to press this up against the bottom. There's another little lip that it seats against. So we're going to keep turning this little guy until these two are flush. No more gap. my dust boot on there. I use my handy dust boot installation tool. I've never seen one of these till now. That's kind of neat. Get on there, ha, ha, ha. Well, that doesn't seem to work. Let's switch to the bigger hammer. Ow, that's my thumb.
Don't think it's working.
Well, that doesn't do nothing. Look at this. On the top right here, there are 4. Can you see?
Yeah.
There's 4 rivets. So you gotta cut those off, cut off wheel, chisel them off, and then that thing can come out.
Sounds about right.
Hey, you want to know what our loose feeling in the front end was?
What?
I'll show you when you get back over here.
Looking? Oh,
Are you still looking?
I'm still looking. Oh. Oh, that's how that works.
Okay, grab one of those bearings. So you've got a bearing. You know where the grease needs to go, right? Down, packed inside that groove,
Yeah.
right? Now, how you get grease in here is you take an ample amount of grease and you put it, I'm gonna use this hand. You put it on your palm, right? Now there's that big opening right here. I'm gonna push that grease into the opening like that. And I'm gonna keep grabbing it and sticking it as I'm pushing down right at the edge. See how it's pushing the grease in there and it's coming out?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I do see that.
So you're going to keep doing that until I can see that it's almost in all the way. See, I'm just holding it and I'm pushing it in there.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
More.
So when you first put these on, and I've had this apart, so it's like I'm first putting it on. Tighten it down and you give it a good tighten. And that should seat those bearings in there so they're nice and all the way in, right?
Yeah.
So then we'll loosen it up so that my holes match. See right there, cotter pin holes.
Yeah.
I don't have any play this way. That seems okay, but I wonder if I can get it a little better. I wonder if that would be smoother. Do I have any play? I don't think I have any play. So this you just tap along the outsides. Until it's flush. See how it went flush? So I've got this side done. After fighting with the ball joints yesterday and doing some other things, we both got frustrated, and when it came time to put the calipers on the spindles here, they just weren't lining up. So a couple things were happening, and we tried to walk through the why of how things are getting bound up. But on the back side of the caliper here, right there, there's a little piece of the caliper itself that sticks out and it makes contact with the spindle. So I had to grind a little bit of that caliper off so that it would fit back in there. Apparently that's a common thing for these brakes. Also, I had, when I put the wheel on, there was a little fitment issue where the wheel was coming into contact with the lower control arm lip here. So just a little kiss with the grinder, and that took a little bit of material off, and now I clear the 8-inch rally rims. It barely clears the tie rod end. If I put weights on the inside of the wheel, the little lip weights, it would probably knock that off. So they're really close, but that's part of, you know, being low, some of the sacrifices you got to make. We'll address that with wheel balancing here soon. I think these ones are good, and I don't have lip weights on them, so we might be good there, but maybe a little kiss with the grinder on the tie rod end if we have that problem. The other issue you run into with these eBay spindles specific is this brake line. The brake line, as it comes out, wants to be right where that lower ball joint is. So you get this kind of mocked up into place, and you can get you a little bit of bend on this, just light pressure. You're not trying to kink this. Light pressure will bend that out of the way, and it'll move it so it kind of sits where it just runs around the ball joint. You won't have any contact here. I had to loosen the bracket for the hose up here. So I took the bolt out. It's still held in by that retention clip, positively retained. I don't want any contact with this happening later down the road when I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere. I think I can put the wheel on the passenger side and get back to the driver's side, which that ball joint on the upper control arm is fighting me. So the wheel is back on. We have clearance. You can see where I ground down a little bit here, and it is, the camera in there better. It's pretty close right there. I mean, it looks probably a little closer than it is, but if I had a wheel weight, I think I got one. Where's that? Here it is. I mean, maybe 1/8 of an inch there, but I still clear. And I ran it lock to lock. Should be good. Well, everything's buttoned back up. Got both tires on there, got it set down on the turntables. We're gonna see how far off this alignment is, at least in the toe end. Well, yep, that's about 1 inch toe in. I expected some changes, and you know, we got some. So I'm gonna pull that back out so that it's 1/16 of an inch toe in, and we'll see what we got after that. So I picked it up, but I got this adjusted so it's 1/16 toe in. We're dropping it, or whatever has happened recently has caused it to go 1 inch toe out. So we fixed that. We're gonna drop this thing down off the jack stands, or turntables and all the stuff, and see what it looks like. Granted, these springs still have to settle. This coil right here is what I'm talking about, is gonna have to get kind of settled down just a little bit, so it will be where it needs to be. But as far as suspension travel, we pretty much returned it a little closer to stock for the geometry and things. So alignment looks pretty good enough for government work, and we'll get this thing dropped down. I can't tell. I guess it looks a little bit lower in the nose there, but that does look...
It's even. It looks even.
It's even?
Yes.
Because before it had, I think, way more gap here, but now they're close to matching. I think it kind of has a little bit of a nose down look, which is kind of what I was going for. Biggest change that I was going for was there's a overpass coming toward the house, and when you enter onto that, there's a little bit of a dip, and it kind of shutters the suspension, but once you cross it, whichever way you're going, exiting the bridge, if you will, there's a dip. And before you hit that dip and the control arm bump stop bracket was bottoming out on the cross member, and we could see the evidence of that in there. And the shocks just weren't doing enough shocky things. Now we have the newer shocks, factory shocks, not these drop shocks that aren't valved right. Factory shocks, and well, you saw the things we did. And it rides way better. It feels like it's a little stiffer in the front, a little more controlled with the motions, yeah?
Definitely.
I don't like, of course, I'm coming from the Chevelle with a performance-tuned brand new suspension, so this thing's a little loose for me, especially the steering box, and I've got a little bit of vibration, which that bugs me. I hate leaks and vibrations and things, so I guess I'm my own worst enemy on that. But I think that's gonna be a win. If you're running these eBay spindles, just know that you gotta do some things. But you're not paying performance spindle prices, right?
Right.
Because everybody's got a budget, this guy. So you can run the eBay stuff. You just gotta be careful with it, and you gotta do a little bit of extra work. You know, the kids in China can't do it all for you, right? So do a little bit of work, get your stuff in there. All we had to do really was bend the brake hose, a little bit of grinding here and there, and everything fit in pretty good. So I think that's gonna wrap up today. Well, what did we learn when things don't go well on the truck? If you have, let's say, a part that doesn't fit right, what do?
Figure out why.
Figure out why. You don't get mad, you don't throw tools, you don't do all of that kind of stuff. I don't know why he's looking at me. You don't do all that kind of stuff. You gotta slow down and figure out the why, because otherwise you're just gonna beat your head in the wall. We ran into that last night. We were both frustrated after the ball joints and wheel studs and all the things were not going right, and a couple trips into town to get parts that were wrong parts. Anyways, we got frustrated and I just called it. We took a break, went in, had some food, started this morning fresh, and everything kind of fell into place. So sometimes when you're fighting yourself, go take a smoke break, whatever I don't know what kids do these days. So you go take a break, and then you come back and everything should just fall right into place in a perfect world. So that's what we did. Works great. Take your time, figure it out, look at it, see what's happening, where it's rubbing, what it's doing, what it's not doing, that kind of thing. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, share it, hype the video, all the things. All that little stuff helps us out.
And see you on the next one.
Yeah.